The first thing I noticed after moving to the town was how quiet people got when certain streets were mentioned. Not awkward quiet. Not uncomfortable silence. Careful quiet. I'd moved there for a teaching job. Population under 3,000, one high school, one grocery store, one diner where everyone somehow knew what you wanted before you ordered. People were friendly but guarded, like they'd all agreed on rules I hadn't been told yet. One rule became obvious fast. No one went near Maple Row after dark. I only learned the name because my GPS tried to route me through it one night. The woman at the diner leaned over and calmly said, "Your phone's wrong. Take the long way." I laughed and asked why. She didn't. A week later, I drove past Maple Row by accident. It wasn't dramatic, just a narrow residential street with identical houses, all dark, all perfectly spaced. No cars, no porch lights, no movement. As I passed through, my phone lost signal. So did the radio. Halfway down the street, I realized something was wrong. Every house had a front porch. Every porch had a chair. Every chair faced the road. Empty. When I reached the end of Maple Row, my phone buzzed with missed notifications. Signal restored instantly. The next day, I asked a coworker about the street. She said, "People used to live there." Used to. I later found an old newspaper article buried in the town archive online. Decades ago, Maple Row had been evacuated after a structural concern. No deaths reported, no follow-up stories. But at the bottom of the article was a comment, posted years later. "We still sit out there. We just don't answer anymore." I never drove down Maple Row again. But sometimes, when I take the long way home, I feel watched. I was already dialing 911 when the knocking started. Not loud, not frantic, just slow, deliberate taps on my front door. I whispered into the phone, giving my address, trying not to make noise. I had seen him through the peephole minutes earlier, standing too close to the door, head tilted slightly like he was listening. Dispatch told me officers were on the way. 8 minutes out. The knocking stopped. That was worse. I stayed on the line, crouched behind my couch, listening to every sound my house made. Then the dispatcher went quiet. Not hung up. Just quiet. I whispered hello. She whispered back, "Stay where you are." That's when I heard the back door open, slowly. Footsteps moved through my kitchen. Cabinets opened, closed. Whoever it was knew I was home, and knew the police were coming. He never rushed. He just waited. The police arrived 7 minutes later. They found my back door open, mud on the floor, cabinets disturbed. No intruder. But dispatch confirmed something that still makes my stomach turn. The whisper I heard? The dispatcher had muted herself. The line had gone silent. Whoever whispered to me was inside the house. The first thing you learn working nights at a funeral home is how still everything becomes. Not peaceful, just settled. Like the building knows its purpose and expects you to respect it. I was 3 months into the job when it happened. Overnight attendant. Mostly paperwork, occasional transfers, and monitoring the security system. Cameras covered the prep room, viewing rooms, hallways, and the cooler. At around 2:12 a.m., one of the camera feeds refreshed. The prep room. A body lay on the table. Male. Elderly. I'd helped prepare him earlier that evening. He was positioned carefully, hands folded, sheet pulled up to the chest. On the monitor, something was wrong. The sheet wasn't folded the same way. I rewound the footage. Watched from the beginning of the night. Nothing unusual. No staff entries. No power fluctuations. I let it play forward again. At 2:11:46, the man's shoulders shifted. Not a twitch. Not a camera artifact. A slow, deliberate movement, just enough to disturb the sheet. I stood up so fast my chair tipped backward. I went down the hall with my radio on, lights fully on, repeating to myself what I'd been told in training. Post-mortem muscle release, temperature changes, normal explanations. When I opened the prep room door, everything was exactly as it should be. The body was still. The sheet lay neatly folded. I checked the time. 2:14 a.m. I went back to the office and watched the footage again. The movement was still there. Clear. When the director reviewed it the next morning, he watched silently, then closed the file. "We don't keep footage longer than 30 days, he said, "and we don't discuss anomalies." That night, the camera was replaced. The old hard drive was destroyed. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can still see that shoulder move, like something underneath remembered it was once alive.